What's going on, everybody? My name's Marcus. Welcome back to another live stream. On this channel, I make reselling content and anything that's going to help new resellers shorten the learning curve. So if that seems like something that you're into, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you'll know when I drop another video or a live stream. So on these live streams, what I like to do is find someone that's more seasoned than myself to be able to drop knowledge on myself and new resellers and just be able to chop it up and get to know each other, but also learn something in the process. So tonight's guest is Pablo from My Storage Finds. So without further ado, I'm gonna bring him in and let him introduce himself to you guys. Hey,
What's up, everyone?
what's going on, man? You want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Pablo. I'm from My Storage Finds. We basically do a show on purchasing auctions for abandoned storage units. And then from there, basically the process of identifying what they're worth, the items, and then the process of selling them. We're going to be extending that show a little bit more into the restoration of the items and basically do kind of like a walkthrough of how we restore the items and how we get them out there, just basically from beginning to end to show basically the whole process. If you watched Storage Wars, basically something like that, but 100% authentic.
Right. That's the vibe that I was kind of getting when I watch your videos is kind of like Storage Wars, without the haggling side of things because the deal's already done. But
Right.
your channel is very interesting, man, because you do get some pretty great finds. You do show off everything as you're going through it. Have you ever had any surprises in one of those units, man?
I've had a few. I mean, I have found some items that you're like, they never really make it to the camera. You know what I
Right.
mean? But for the most part, I mean, most of the things you find is, the way I always explain it to people who ask me is, if you think about a storage unit,
Hmm.
what would you put in your storage unit? You're going to put basically everything in your house,
Right.
your electronics, the things that you're going from one residence to another. And then sometimes you just don't pick it up. And so you find literally a little bit of everything,
Right.
and
Right.
that's part of the cool thing about the units is that we find, it's a broad range. Like one unit might have electronics, and then you might find comics, and then you might find collectibles. You might find stuff from, in one unit I found an autographed picture of Marilyn Monroe, for example. So
Nice.
it's just a broad thing, and for me it's more the treasure hunting, the figuring out what did I find. you know
Right.
you sold something.
Yeah. Well, it's the best offer.
Yeah.
I got a Simon Says, the vintage Simon Says game. Somebody offered me $10 for it. I don't know if I'm gonna take it. It's untested, so I probably should. Let me go ahead and
Right.
say hi to who's in the chat. We got Hell's Canyon Hustle. Hey, you're first. Thanks for showing up. Appreciate it. We got Ed, the reselling writer. What's up, big homie? How you doing? Mr. Thrift, my homie Zach, man. This is a personal friend of mine. We were in each other's last videos.
Cool.
Hi Pablo, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
ATL Flippers in the building. What's up, Derek and Jasmine? How you guys doing? Great video, your last video, man. Nice find with those busted Yeezys. D Middleman Picker. Hey, how you doing, bro? We got Drew Strickland in the building. What's up, man? How you doing? Thanks for showing up. Where's the wife, man? So, do you know who Rachel Strickland is, Pablo?
Yeah, I was in here with the show that she did with you,
Yeah,
and then
Drew
I went
Strickland
to
is
one
her
show.
husband.
Yeah, I think you were on her show.
Yeah, yep. We got Danny from the Pickwick Resellers. What's going on, bro? How you been lately, man? Don't see much of you on YouTube these days, man. We got Avery's all in. I think Avery's he's coming up in a couple of weeks. Honestly, he's going to be the next guest, or not next, but one of my next guests coming up. Good, supporting you, and as always, brother. I know, man, you've been a day one with me, man. I appreciate it, bro. Like ever since I started doing the live streams, you've always been there, man. Definitely appreciate the support. Emerald City Resale. Hey, how you doing? So you just dropped a video earlier. I didn't get to watch it yet, but I will.
Yeah.
You wanna give anybody you wanna give the viewers a rundown of like basically what your channel's about. I know you said that you're gonna get into restoring everything, but since this isn't your full-time job, what do
Right.
you plan to achieve with reselling?
So I do this basically for two reasons. One, for the excitement and the fun.
Right.
The other thing is to kind of stay in shape. I'm a software engineer by trade, and so I basically sit in a chair all day and just code.
Okay.
And so I can't do the gym; it's boring. And so I started
Right.
looking for ways. Originally, the purpose of the channel was my sister wanted to open up a thrift shop, and
Mm,
so we were going out looking for inventory, and that's been delayed for a little bit. And
right.
so in the process, basically buying these storage units, going through them, filming it, going, doing the same thing we all do, but at the same time finding inventory to be able to open up that store in the long run.
Okay.
You know,
So that's funny that you say open a thrift store. So I guess you guys don't want to go the donation route since you'd be profiting off of it.
right?
Uh, kind of be immoral, huh?
Yeah, I
um,
mean, it's really her dream, and so it was, like I said. I mean, I'm basically trying to get her to do something that she wants to do that's a passion of hers.
right.
And in the process, I'm basically doing something that is fun to me. And,
That makes sense.
it's kind of becoming a passion because I'm learning a lot. I'm meeting a lot of different people.
Right.
And so to me, it's always at the end of the day, it's always about the people.
Right.
It's not about anything else. If I've learned anything in my 25 years of software engineering and working with big firms,
Mhm.
is that it always comes down to the people. And so,
Right.
the individuals that I get to meet with and talk to, and the little things, like I just did a thing that the Hoogs were selling, a Harry Tornado thing, and so
Mhm.
just interacting and doing a lot of different things that I'm learning how to do video editing and a couple of other
Right.
things. So it's just a challenge.
Well, your videos are pretty good, man. Your editing skills and all that. I think you make pretty good quality videos. How long you been on YouTube?
I think it was in May of this year.
Really? You got a
Yeah.
decent sized channel for, not even being a year old, man.
Yeah, I mean, I like I said, I'm a software engineer, so I understand algorithms. I understand
Right.
the SEO side of things. And so working that a type of aspect and getting on Google and getting, organic
Mhm.
searches and stuff like that, that's where my specialty is. And so,
Right. So you
you
weren't
know,
surprised at all with the success of the channel then, huh?
well, I mean, I was a little bit. At first, I thought, a year in, I was going to be the only one watching myself.
Mhm.
But,
Yeah, your
you know,
videos get quite a few views, man.
yeah,
You're definitely doing pretty good in my opinion. You're doing better than
thank you.
me, which isn't hard to do. But
Well, I mean, I think that you focus more on the selling because it's
mhm,
your full-time job.
right,
And so you're focusing on the end, meeting the ends, and doing the
mhm,
things that you need to do to make sure you run your business and you pay your bills and you support your family,
right,
where I'm doing it more for fun, so I get to spend more time on the promoting and the playing with it, as opposed
right,
to I've got to figure out how to pay this bill this month, you know what I mean?
right. I hear you.
So
So for me, YouTube's kind of fun, but for me, it's really about number one, holding myself accountable because if I say it in my videos, then I have to do it.
right,
But it's really about education, teaching new resellers what I'm learning along the way. So maybe to help them along the way. But
right,
it's also like you said about the connection side of it because man, I'm meeting some really cool people and I'm learning a lot. So I really just want to give back. So that's the reason why I started the YouTube.
that's
But
awesome.
like so for instance, I'm gonna learn from you tonight some tips on getting into storage auctions because I'm trying to scale my business. And I
Okay.
noticed that you get a ton of inventory. So you never have a shortage of stuff to list. Whereas me, I have a daily listing goal of 13 items a day, and I'm always in need of inventory. So
Right.
for someone like me, if I want to get into storage auctions, what's the best piece of advice you can give me as a beginner?
So I mean, there's a lot of different things that you can do. You can purchase auctions in a lot of different ways, but
Right.
the main thing that I would say is going from the environment that you're in into storage units
Mhm.
is start with small units.
Okay.
Don't, a lot of the times the smaller ones are going to be, you're going to have less inventory, but it's
Mhm.
going to be more manageable. Where if
Right.
I buy, say, for example, a 10 by 20 unit, I'm going to have the equivalent of like 1,500 products that I'm going to basically come into my
Right.
possession, that I'm going to have to figure out how to put it, where to put it, how to
Mhm.
sort through it. how to get rid of, and you're going to find that a lot of the things you find, you just can't do anything with them. So you have to donate them or throw them away.
Right.
So you end up incurring other fees like dump fees and things like along those lines. So
So,
start with one unit that's like a
mhm,
5x5, and you know keep it at, say your budget will be to say $100. You don't want to
okay.
spend more than $100 in a 5x5. Generally you're going to find things between a $200 and $800 profit range in most
Mhm,
cases. If it's a decent unit, you can buy
right.
some units that are just junk, but just you can kind of see it,
Right.
and just start with that and see how that is. Because I think the biggest challenge that I see from what you guys do and what I do
Mhm,
is that your cost of goods, what
right.
you have in it. Where I buy a unit, I pay $100 for this unit, but I could end up with 500 items, or I could end up with 20 items, and so my
Right.
cost of goods are going to be kind of broad.
Okay.
Um, so that's really the bigger thing. The other
But so
thing
how
is,
often does something like that happen where you end up with a minimal number of items, like 20 items? It seems like pretty small number.
again, it just depends on the items. I mean, a lot of the times I had one unit, I'll give you an example, that I purchased, and the unit itself, there were a lot of items in the unit, but a lot of the items were broken and you couldn't
Mhm,
see them. So when I originally went into it, I was anticipating probably about 100 items, but after I sorted through and I realized that it would cost me more to fix the items than to
right.
sell them, I ended up coming down to like 10 or 15 items. But the
Okay, that
thing is
makes
that with
sense.
those 10 or 15 items, I still tripled my money.
Of course.
So
I
it's
get
it's
it.
just a matter of, the gamble, I guess.
Okay. Let me speak to a couple of people. Zach from Utah and Bought and Gone. Thanks for showing up, bro. I didn't know you were even subscribed to my channel, or either you're subscribed to Pablo's channel, but thanks for showing up, bro. Uh, Hell's Kenya Hustle says, here where I live, the auctions are online. I have an account, but I have not taken the plunge.
You should.
I need to set me up an account and really get into it, just because I'm really curious to see how to pan out for me. Ed says, can you tell when a storage unit is staged?
Most of the time, yes. One of the things you'll find is that you start to see the same units consecutively every month,
Mhm,
and you start to see more or less like how certain things are placed. If right at the front of the unit there's a really expensive item and it's a box and it's facing you and it's right there,
mhm.
chances are it's staged. You
So
know,
when it's staged, it means that there's nothing really good in there. It's just they're trying to get rid of the stuff.
so the staged units are usually the facility who basically is trying to sell the auction, and they basically are making it look like there's a lot of stuff there. But
Oh,
sometimes they'll
okay.
put their garbage, sometimes they'll put things from multiple units that they've gone through and put it in one single unit. So you
Right,
end up with a lot of items that you might make $5, $10 off of to get your money back, but you're not really going to get big
right.
profits or big, surprises.
That's a good piece of advice right there. Because someone like me would have saw that hook item that they're trying to hook and reel me in with, and I'd have probably been upbidding and everything.
Maybe.
Candy, hey, how you doing? Thanks for showing up. Zach says, no, I'm definitely sub to you. Oh, okay, cool. Substance, right on. I appreciate the support, man. Really, I really do. So we have quite a few storage units, or facilities in my small town that I live in. Um, there's not a better like storage facility to deal with. Is there? Like, I mean, it's pretty much just a simple procedure amongst all storage units.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest things to look for is how long do you have. So the process from beginning to end, I don't
Mhm.
know how many people know about storage units, but you basically bid on it, you win it. After you win it, you have a certain amount of time to clear that unit out.
Okay.
Some facilities are going to charge you a deposit for cleaning, some are not. So it just boils down to what I tend to stay more focused on is not the facility, but the location of the facility.
Okay.
If you bid on a unit in a lower income section of town, chances are you're going to get smaller items.
Right.
Where if you focus on an area of town that is more wealthy, you're going to find bigger items, or you're going to find more newer items that you're going to make more money from.
Right.
So that's the main thing to keep an eye for.
Makes sense. Zach says he's bought a storage unit before. So much fun, but a lot of work. I haven't bought one in about 6 months since I've been buying book pallets. And then he says, what's up to Drew? So that's one of the things that I had heard from a couple of different people. That number one, the dump fees. is pretty high when you got to throw everything away. And then number two, that it's just really a lot of work. And like for a person like me, I don't necessarily have a truck. I mean, I have a car, but my mom has a pickup truck, so I can haul the stuff away, if need be and stuff like that. But the thing is, the time that it's going to take for me to go through everything, like you said, you got a certain amount of time. So um they don't let you just slap a lock on the locker unit and come back at your
Yeah,
leisure or
so
what?
you can. It's just you have let's say, for example, most facilities are going to give you 72 hours. So you
Right.
you get that unit, you put your lock, and then you have the ability to come and go for 72 hours.
Okay.
If at that point you haven't finished, you can usually rent that facility or that unit for a month and then
Mm,
take your time and go through it.
okay.
But I mean, like I said, if you buy a 5x5, you can go down to like Lowe's or U-Haul and rent a pickup truck for 29 bucks,
Right.
and it might cost you $35 when it's all said and done, and you can move the stuff and put it in your garage, as an
Okay.
example. um, you know as far as dump fees and stuff like that, it really depends. A full trailer with a big dump trailer,
Hmm.
I usually pay about $40 for the dump.
That's not too bad.
No.
Okay.
So
So Ed says, do you find the wealthy area is more expensive than the poor areas?
for the units or for
Yeah, I'm not really sure exactly what he means. What's up, Flippy McFlipperson? Thanks for showing up, bro. Appreciate the support. Um, I bought my trailer for the storage units. I bought and wrote it off. LOL. Nice.
Yep.
That must have been a good write off.
Yep.
AR Vintage Flips. What's up, Marcus? What's up, everyone? Thanks for showing up, bro. So yeah, Ed says yes for the units.
Not necessarily. um, I think a lot of the times the value is dependent on what people can see. I have bought some units in some expensive areas of towns for as little as 40 bucks, but there was a lot of furniture and people don't want to deal with furniture.
Right.
And so, I can move furniture on Facebook and usually make, 5, 10 times the amount of that unit just
Yep.
in furniture. And the other stuff, which would be my smalls, is my fun play, figure out
Okay.
what it is. And,
So that's what I see. Mark from Sarcastic Storage Stacker. He
Yep.
does that all the time, flipping the furniture on Facebook. And
Yep.
I mean, like, there's a lot of money to be made in the furniture, especially locally, because you don't have to worry about shipping or anything like that. There's
Right.
a guy on TikTok flipping for a living. He's constantly going to the Habitat for Humanity, like Restore, and buying decent furniture and flipping it online
Right.
on Facebook Marketplace. So I can only imagine that saving that initial 150 $200 buying the actual furniture makes you a ton of money. Um,
And,
what's
and I
been
know
the
I know a
Go
lot
ahead.
of people who buy storage units, not even to resell.
Right.
Somebody moves into a new apartment and they need furniture. You can buy a storage unit and just keep the furniture.
Yeah, that makes sense. Uh, I've used storage units twice in my life. I never, didn't keep my stuff, but I've had some pretty valuable stuff in storage units, man. So I'm pretty sure that, there's people out there that have come into some hard times or whatever and lost a boatload of good, valuable stuff. What's been the most craziest find you've had so far?
So I had a pod unit that I have a video on my channel, and it's basically a pod unit. And
Mhm.
the unit was basically full of World War II and Civil War memorabilia,
Mhm.
collectibles, guns, knives.
Right.
Um, it was basically somebody who was in World War II and passed away, and the family basically, from what I can tell, got a pod, emptied everything of their house in it, and just
Mhm.
left it.
Wow.
So literally, I found it right down to his Purple Heart. Literally found it in this unit. So I literally found all kinds of stuff in this unit. It was just a crazy unit as a whole.
Nice.
Lots of collectibles, gold coins, silver coins, all kinds of currency, collectible currency. So
Pretty cool, man. We
yeah,
got Bobby in the building. What's up, Cap Guy and JT? How you doing, man? We got Missy, the Nice City Seller. Thanks for showing up. Evan says he wishes he had the room to flip furniture. So much good profit there. Man,
yep,
crazy profit. Uh, hey, JT, Nicety is here. Hell's Canyon Hustle says, time is a factor for me. I also have a job outside of reselling. I have a large outbuilding, a truck, and dumping fees are free here. Just the time. How long does it usually take you to complete?
Depends on the unit. Most units I get done within 2 to 3 hours. Basically, what takes me the longest is the filming because a lot of the times you've got to do 1 or 2 takes or things along those lines. But
Right.
um, for the most part, most units I get through them in a day. Some units, like I had one unit which was a hoarder unit,
Mhm.
it took me almost 2 months. But it
Wow.
was because literally there was everything you can imagine. It was a 10 by 20 packed to the max.
Yeah.
And I mean, you couldn't even open the door. It was so packed. So,
Ed asked, "What's the strangest thing you found?"
oh, what's the strangest thing? I find all kinds of strange things. Um, I think there was one unit which was a cowboy unit, and
Mhm.
inside of it there was like a whole bunch of like Native American items that I really can't tell you what they are, but they were just weird. It was like animal heads on top of sticks,
Hmm.
and you know, it's just weird.
Yeah, that sounds pretty weird.
Yep.
Um, so what do you do with stuff like that, man? You
Sometimes I
sell it?
donate it. Sometimes I look for like if it's like I'll reach out to like different organizations that
Mhm.
are in that type of thing and
Right.
see if that's something that they would want for like a museum or for things along those lines. So I just, that's where the fun part is for me because I tend to kind of learn and kind of involve myself in other things just to see how they are. But
Right.
a lot of the things I donate, I mean, most of my units, for the most part, I tend to donate 60 to 70% of them. I tend to kind of keep more the stuff that, like the electronics, the video games,
Mhm.
stuff like that.
So, I mean, I guess that would be a pretty decent luxury to have. Being able to pick what you want to sell out of everything and then just get rid of the rest.
Right.
Um, so like I noticed that you found like clothes and stuff like that. You don't list any of the clothing or you sell
So
on
I
Poshmark. I know that.
I just started looking at Poshmark. I actually right now I have the big bins, the big gigantic bins.
Mhm.
I have probably about 60 of those full of clothes, and it's all name
Wow.
brand clothes. It's basically sitting in a warehouse that I have. I just haven't gone through it completely.
Right.
So I basically put in a rack and I hung maybe 30, 40 outfits just to kind
Mhm.
of see what the process was, took pictures and put it on Poshmark. So I
Right.
mean I've sold probably maybe a dozen items so far. It's just
So
clothes doesn't excite me.
the thing with clothes that I find is it's more of a quantity also as well as the item itself. There's just certain things that just never will sell, and then there's certain things that'll sell, but you can't overprice it. And then there's things that'll sell regardless of the price. It's the name, so to speak. So
Right.
clothing is a whole nother ball game though, man, which I'm learning myself because that's kind of what I'm using to scale my business. It's just the easiest thing for me to get. But Ed says, what's the most unique item you've kept for yourself?
Um Most unique. A binder full of Pokemon cards.
Nice. And you kept this?
Literally, there's probably like 4,000 cards in this binder.
Wow.
It's like that thick, and there's literally all kinds of different things. I found some cards that are expensive, sometimes that you know are just. And I wasn't really into Pokemon before this, but
Mhm.
learning the process and the cards and the lookups kind of like got me curious, and so I just kept it.
Right. That's pretty interesting find, honestly, man. Because Pokemon cards are all the rage right now, and there's some that are just worth thousands. And I mean, honestly, it'd be real tempting for me to hang on to it. I'd probably be trying to sell it. Zach
Yeah,
says listing clothing is not fun. It is not. It isn't. Especially if you like don't have the right setup to list clothing. And you got to crawl around on the floor to do measurements and stuff. It's definitely no fun.
yeah.
But I do enjoy the money that I make off of selling jeans. For instance, I listed a pair of BKE jeans. I listed them this morning. They sold probably about 4 hours later for full price, $35 plus
Wow.
shipping. I do shipping on everything, so $2 and the 35 bucks is definitely it's pretty good for me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to frown about it.
No.
Um,
Profit's profit.
right, so um my thing is with hey Rachel, thanks for showing up. Drew says you were filming a video. Thanks for popping in. And BKE is good money. Yes, it is. But there's sometimes like I'll find some jeans or BKE or Levi or something like that, and sometimes it'll be a little distressed or just stained or something like that. And even with certain brands stains and tears, it'll still sell well. Like I sold a pair of trashed 501 double X's, and there was holes all in it, paint splatter on it. And they still sold for $35. And I even messaged the buyer like, "You checked the description, right? And you looked at all the pictures." Like, "Yeah, man, totally. Go ahead and send them out." All right, cool.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot
Um,
of people that know how to restore them, and they can basically turn around and sell them. So
right. Ed says, "Are you cross posting, Marcus? I only hear eBay sales from your What So videos." So no, I really don't cross post, man. I don't got time for all that. I know you do list perfectly, and I did see Hell's Canyon Hustle. She does list perfectly. So I'm really kind of thinking about that. But at the same time, I'm also considering hiring a VA right now to help me with my listings. So I really don't want to take on two things at one time. I don't want to take on List Perfectly and a VA at the same time to cross post. And you know what I mean? Like I just don't know which one I'm gonna take priority with. Um, but I do know that if I want to sell more items, I probably should be listing on more platforms. It's just eBay is doing pretty well for me, so I kind of run with it. What all platforms do you sell on, Pablo?
so I do eBay. I haven't done Mercari, but I'm looking at it. Amazon. Um, what else? Facebook.
Mhm.
I do quite a bit of sales on Craigslist, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah, at least for furniture.
Okay.
And then there's a couple of other words like OfferUp and stuff like that because they're kind
Right.
of big here in the Orlando area.
Mhm.
But for the most part, my main focus is eBay. I've been selling on eBay
Okay.
since like 2002.
Right.
So kind of
Hey,
like my
Paul, thanks for
comfort zone.
showing up, bro. Gino, what's going on, man? How you doing? It's been a while since I've seen you. So I don't do any I used to, kind of mess around with OfferUp. I don't do any Craigslist at all. Like I know it's a good place to do some sourcing at from time to time, but I should probably broaden my horizons, man, especially since I'm trying to scale. Is and I thought Craigslist was dead, Is that a good place to get rid of stuff at?
Furniture wise, I never have a problem. You know,
Okay.
it's one of those things. You know, it's kind of like a hit or miss, kind of like Facebook
Right.
Marketplace. But I mean, I tend to find quite a bit, and then a lot of the times I'll find like I'll find a four wheeler or I'll find things along those lines, and I tend to find that it's easier to sell
Mhm.
on Craigslist than anywhere else.
Right.
And
Uh,
seeing the list perfectly, I actually tried it, and being a
what were your
software
thoughts?
engineer, I basically just kind of wrote my own version of it for my
Mhm.
own use. So gave me the ability to kind of control it a little bit better because there
Awesome.
was a couple of things that I didn't like about List Perfectly, but for the
So
most
you
part,
pretty
it's a cool
much
platform.
created your own list perfectly.
Yeah.
Now you need to be trying to sell that stuff or
Nah,
monopolize on that, man.
nah.
I'm just saying, talent, man. That's I don't know, man. If I could create a digital product or something like that, I probably would. At the end of the day, I am trying to take care of business and make
Right.
money.
Yeah, I
List
hear you.
perfectly is so easy. I take my laptop and I lay in bed or watch TV and cross list, and I'm a newbie. Yeah, no, I'd seen your video yesterday with your list perfectly. Um, and Ed says I should try it. I'm currently doing drafts on the list perfectly. LOL. I think for you, list perfectly would be perfect for you. I've only used the VA once with Hammock, but I personally didn't like it. So I've heard mixed things about Hammock. I don't know who else in the chat uses Hammock, but I've heard that they get a lot of stuff wrong, and you got to go back and fix a lot of stuff. And that's the only reason why I don't want to use Hammock per se. I do want to hire like an individual, like one person personally, and have them work with me. I just don't really know how to go about doing it. Ed, do you do your full listings and list perfectly? I do sell similar on eBay and then import. See, so I don't even. I guess, man, I got a lot to learn, honestly. But what what would you say? Since I don't mean I don't know how many listings do you do a day, Pablo?
It really depends. I think right now I have like 400 and something. So I might do maybe one day I might do 30, 40. The next day I might do 10. So
So do you list daily?
usually at least 2 or 3 times a week.
Oh, okay. So do you have daily sales?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
I sell things throughout, but again, I have a lot of inventory. I right now I have 3 warehouses and they're completely full of inventory.
Too bad
So
you
that's
live in freaking Orlando, man. I'd come there and do a pick, man.
come on
You got
down.
like you got like the Picker's Paradise, 3 warehouses.
Yep.
What's up? Thanks for showing up, Bartomania. Let's see, flipping sports guy. Yeah, I do my whole listing on list perfectly. Then I cross post on all the ones I sell on. Zach says, "How far have you drove for a unit?" My brother drove 6 hours for one unit, and I don't think I could do that. Yeah, that's crazy.
I think it depends on the unit. Now, if they open up the unit and there's some cool stuff in there, I might drive that far. But the farthest I've gone is about 2.5 hours.
Okay, so like when you're looking, do you even bother to look that far away?
So I look first 120 miles and closer.
Mhm.
And if I can't find anything that interests me, I might go up to 150 or 200,
Okay,
just depending.
right.
Florida, the problem with Florida is that this way it'll go a
Mhm.
lot, but this way you pretty much are limited because of the oceans. And
Okay.
so a lot of the times your radius is going to be too small. And so you have to go further to go up to either Georgia or go
Mm,
down to South Florida.
that makes
So
sense. So Rachel asked, "Are your warehouses listed or death piles?"
so I've listed probably maybe 5 to 10% of the stuff that I have.
Hmm.
So I would say a little bit of both. There's some listed, but mostly a death pile.
And are you the only one doing the listings?
Yep.
It's got to be a challenge, man.
It's fun.
So, Evan asked, what percentages of your sales are local versus online? That's a
I'd
good
say probably
question.
75-25 online.
75 local?
No, online.
Okay,
Most of the stuff that I sell, remember, are smalls.
right.
The 25% are going to be your bigger items that I just don't want to deal with shipping, So
Um, that's for that's directed to Paul. Anyone close to Houston? I've got the mother load. Oh, really? um, you win that Cheeto or what? Okay, so sorry guys. What's your favorite thing to sell? Well, yeah, what is your favorite thing to sell?
so being a tech guy, it's
Mhm.
usually going to be like old vintage electronics, you know, the
Okay,
old computers, the old video games, you know, the old Macintosh computers and stuff
right.
like that.
So, do you find that type of stuff in storage units very
Oh
often?
yeah, all
That's
the time.
good.
The last unit I did, I bought for $100,
Mhm,
and inside of it I think there was like 25 original PlayStation games that
mhm.
are like hard to find,
Right.
still in shrink wrap.
Yeah, I seen that. The like all Final Fantasy and stuff like that.
Yeah, there was
Yeah,
Final Fantasy, there was like the Eve and a couple of other ones, Dragoon,
yeah.
and so the Dragoon I considered keeping because if I
Mhm.
actually got it graded, it'd be worth thousands, but I just listed it.
Right. That's with me, man. It's really not about keeping anything. It's about just getting rid of it. I've been asked, why don't you keep that? Well, if it's worth more than me keeping it, then I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of it. So
Right.
Missy says, "What do you look for an eyeball when you're looking for a unit?"
So I think it depends. A lot of the times I look for tools just because I know those things are easy to flip.
Hmm.
I'll look for electronics, but the beautiful thing about bidding online is that I can actually zoom in, look at the different things about those pictures, and
Hmm.
go right there and see what comps are going for.
Right.
So I can actually kind of keep track of what I'm thinking. And then what I usually tend to do is if I see 10 items that I can comp at $1,000, I know that my limit on that unit is probably 300-400 bucks
Mhm.
because then I have to factor in gas and all the other things to keep it basically at 500. And then, you know, what I
Right.
don't see is where I start to look for the profits.
That makes sense. So, what's the most you've ever paid for a unit?
The most expensive unit was my very first unit that I purchased. It was $670.
And that's probably just because you didn't know what you were doing or what?
It was partially that, and it was partially I was just this was like right after COVID, so it was like,
Mhm.
I needed to get out of my house. And so I
Okay.
just wanted to do something. And I mean, it was actually a really good unit. I'm still selling stuff from that unit. It was a 10 by 20 air conditioned. The two side walls, literally of
Mhm.
this entire unit, was unopened boxes from Amazon.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you probably made a killing off that unit then, huh?
Yeah. Like I think the ongoing total I have right now, I think it's like 12 grand.
Really?
Yeah.
And you still got how much left out of that unit?
I probably still have 60% of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you've already thrown away what you're not going to be able to sell?
Yep.
So yeah, man, you're sitting pretty off that one then.
Oh yeah, that was a fun unit. The only thing I wish is that I would have filmed it. This was before I did the show and all of that,
Right.
and so that's where I found the Pokemon cards. That's where I found all that stuff. So I wish I had a
So
video for it. It was just that
so what's
crazy.
going on with your legal issues with that one storage unit?
So that particular unit was I bid on it. I really wanted the unit. I mean,
Mhm.
there was probably like $2,000 to $3,000 in profit. But when it sold, it actually they were expecting what I think is they were expecting to get more money.
Right.
And so I contacted them after the auction and I tried for the second day. Nobody ever called me back.
Mhm.
I reached out to Storage Treasures, which is one of the main platforms. They tried to contact them. Nobody called them back. And then at the 48-hour mark, which is the
Mhm.
pickup deadline, they called me and they said, "You need to come get this now." Well, it doesn't work that way.
Right.
So they complained. Storage Treasure deactivated my account. I called them and basically got into a whole ordeal, provided all the proof and everything.
Mhm.
And we're kind of in the mixture of it right now, but you know.
So is well, what exactly is the outcome that you're looking for with this situation?
So from the perspective of me, I mean, I've already got another account and
Mhm.
I'm back to normal, so it's not like it affects me.
Right.
It was more about educating people about facilities that do things incorrectly
Mhm.
for the sake of self-profit. Because the thing is facilities are not supposed to profit from auctions.
Right.
If a facility, if a individual owes $500 and that auction sells for 1,500, they're
Mhm.
supposed to refund $1,000 back to the actual people. And a lot
To
of
the
facilities don't
actual
do that.
people as far as like the people that rented the storage unit in the first place?
Correct. Correct.
Really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, that's the ethical thing to do because you're not there to profit. You're there to basically make the money that you're owed. And
I
that's what
got
you're
you.
supposed to do. And so a lot of facilities do that, but you do find some that, they're in it for profit and they don't care. And so to me, it was more about the education of it and the ability to show people that not every facility is going to be legit and
Right.
kosher. And, part of what we do is educate and try and help people who are trying to get into it. So that was my original intent behind the entire thing. I mean,
Of
I
course.
could have just signed up for another account right there on the spot and just
Yeah.
continued like nothing. But
Yeah. See, but and I had no idea that, that was what they were supposed to do. I figured it was all about them trying to make money. So thanks for,
yeah,
sharing that with me.
right, they're not
Ed
supposed to.
says, huh?
They're not supposed to.
Okay. Ed says, have you ever been tricked by a unit? I guess better would be, have you bought a staged unit before?
Yeah, I have a video on my channel that I bought a unit and it was weird because in this unit, and this is the one I was talking about, everything was broken.
Mhm.
And it was all high-end items, but they were all broken in one spot. And so the what gave it away for me is as I was going through the unit, I actually found lease agreements to multiple units inside the
Mhm.
same facility. So what I
Mhm.
believe they did is they took things from a lot of different units, put it in one unit, staged it, and sold
Mhm.
it. I still made my money back because there was a couple of things that I knew how to fix electronic wise pretty
Right.
easy. But for the most part, it was just weird that every single item in that unit was missing, like a table with one broken leg, a chair
Yeah.
with one broken leg, a hair dryer with no pin on one plug. It's just
Yeah.
all
That's
just
crazy.
random odd things.
Yeah. That's pretty weird. 17 people and 8 likes. Don't forget the thanks, Rachel. Don't forget the thumbs up, guys. And if you guys are not subscribed to Pablo's channel, head over there and don't do it right now, but at the end of this, go sub to his channel. Um, Missy says, "Wow, I didn't know that." Yeah, neither did I. So what's one of the hardest lessons you had to find out so far? Like, along your storage auction journey?
So I think the hardest thing for me was some of these units, you kind of forget that there's people behind them and
Hmm.
people that have lost pretty much everything that they own.
Right.
In one particular unit I purchased, there was an individual, it was a kid who was going through cancer, and that's
Hmm.
why he lost the unit. And he had
Hmm.
reached out to the facility to try and get his personal effects, pictures, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I ended up actually meeting with the individual and giving him back everything. Um,
Awesome.
and then basically help them with a couple of other things. So, I think the hardest thing for me is it's not the goods, it's not the things, it's just remembering that, you're literally going through somebody's entire possessions,
Right.
and you have to do it in a way because, we're trying to showcase and show what we do, but
Hmm.
at the same time, you have to be respectful and you have to remember in your mind that, this is people's stuff. It's not just, I'm going to the store and this is, so that's I think the hardest thing for me.
Right.
But a lot of the units, it's just people who just, it's not even just that they lost it because of a medical reason or whatever. It's, they did something wrong and they
Right.
went to jail and they lost it.
Okay. I think a couple of people are subscribing to your channel.
Appreciate it.
Um, yeah, Rachel and Evan both put it in there, and I'm assuming Derek's going to subscribe. So how often do you ever like try to find the owners and give them their stuff back, or?
I always try to find, in most units you'll find some kind of paperwork,
Mhm.
and in some cases it's kind of awkward to reach
Right.
out. In some cases, the facility will communicate with and kind of set things up. So it just
Right.
depends on the situation. Um, it's you have units where the people just disappeared and nobody knows where they are, and you go
Right.
through it and you might find something, and you try to find them on Facebook, and it's like, do I send you a message and tell you I've got your stuff, or
Yeah.
but I do look for the people and try to figure out if I can figure out what happened. If it
Yeah.
was something that was medical or something that just was beyond your control, you know, I,
That
I've,
makes sense.
I mean,
Every.
the way I look at it is I spent $200, $300. I
Mhm.
could care less. If I can help you out, then, karma.
Right. Um, Restorage the love. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just subbed. I subbed. Just subbed. Nice. Um, why storage units as opposed to arbitrage or thrifts? Good question.
So, so when I started this, the original concept was my sister wanted to open up a thrift store. That's her dream. And so I thought about what's the easiest and quickest way to get to a lot of inventory that we could basically open up a store with. And so that's why we went the storage unit route first. I
So,
do some stuff in thrifting, and I go to Goodwill and stuff like that, but it's to me it's more the treasure hunt.
mhm. Yeah, I would imagine that because it's definitely not about the price because you can get stuff dirt cheap as opposed to going to the thrift and paying higher prices. So it's got to be about the hunt at that point.
Yep.
How close are you guys to achieving the thrift store dream?
So my sister works in South Florida. She works
Mhm.
for a Catholic church.
Right.
And so she basically does the bookkeeping for the school aspect. So we're waiting till the end of the school year,
Mhm.
and then in the summer. And then one of the things I had mentioned to you earlier is that we're actually going to start doing the restoration of the furniture. So,
Right.
inside the store, my stepfather, Bill, he basically wants to restore the furniture. He's been a handyman since, for a long time.
Right.
And so this is one of his passions. So we're basically just trying to start, the
That's
passion
pretty
aspect of
cool,
it.
man.
Yeah.
You guys got the whole every aspect of it pretty much covered, huh?
Yeah. I
Missy
guess we're
said she
lucky.
just subbed.
Thank you.
She said, "Is it still you and your sister, or is it just you now?"
Right now, it's just me. I'm in Orlando. She's in Miami. So, you know, I'm basically doing the sourcing. I'm basically doing the research, the videos, and then the
Right.
selling. So, you know,
So I noticed so I know you have multiple angles. You have a GoPro on your chest, and then what do you set up a camera on a tripod as well for when you do the storage units?
yeah. So I run two GoPros. I'm going to be
Okay.
starting a third one. Basically, what I do in a lot of the storage units, if it's going to take a long time, is I'll set a kind of like a canopy outside
Mhm.
the unit, and then a table. And as I'm pulling stuff out, I'll have the tripod facing the table,
Right.
and I have one on my chest, basically pointing the other way.
Mhm.
And so then I'll use like Premiere Pro to basically
Right.
do two sources, and so I can switch between the two at any point. And then I'm going to do a third camera that's going to be sitting on the canopy itself, facing down, so that you can
Awesome.
see as I'm coming out of the unit.
So that's just going to make your content that much more uh, awesome to watch, as far as also keeping the viewer entertained throughout it
Right.
to keep your average view duration up too. That's pretty that's pretty, creative, man, honestly, for as far as someone like me that's, just a one camera operation, that's pretty ingenuitive, if you ask me. I think you got the game, dude, for real.
I
You definitely
appreciate it.
got great ideas with where you want your channel to go. It says, do you only do online storage auctions or do you go in person as well?
So in Florida, the in-person ones are very rare to find.
I
So I
imagine that's
tend to
kind
do
of
more.
everywhere right now with COVID.
California, there's quite a few of them. If you go to like the West Coast and stuff like that, they're about 50-50 from what I've seen. I mean, you're going
Mhm.
to have more online ones, but the good ones are going to be kind of 50-50. But in
Right.
Florida, there'll be one maybe 3 hours away that has 4 units. So it's like, do I
Mm.
really want to drive?
Right.
Or,
Makes no sense. Hell's Canyon Hustle says, I'm terrible at filming. I can only imagine the mess I'd make of it. Yeah, I'd probably make a mess of it too, but you got to adapt on the fly. Wow, this was dope and awesome. Thanks, Marcus, for introducing us to Pablo. Hey, no problem, and that's the whole thing about bringing people like you on the channel. Like, granted, your channel is much larger than mine, but I've gotten you a few new subscribers of people
right,
that probably, didn't even know anything about your channel, man. And that's the beauty of these lives. That's the beauty of our community.
right.
We can all teach each other something. We can all learn something from each other. And then you just never know, man, who you're going to meet along the way.
Yeah.
So that's why I like doing these lives. Roman, what's up, man? How you doing, buddy? Thanks for popping in. Um, so the journey of being a tech guy on one hand and then a reseller on the other hand, how do those two worlds mesh well for you?
So I think that in a lot of ways, it simplifies how I vision things.
Hmm.
You know, I know a lot of different tools and a lot of different ways to kind of research. There's a lot of things in the background that a lot of people, if you're not in the field, you might not
Hmm.
necessarily know, like APIs, for example, which
Right.
are interfaces that I can write code for
Hmm.
that allows me to do certain things. And so a lot of the times that's how I mesh them, is that, like the reselling tool, I basically built something that made it easier for me, and it might not necessarily make it easier for everybody else, but from
Right.
the technical aspect, integrating and doing certain things to get
Hmm.
better results with my listings or with my videos,
Right.
hashtags, or research of keywords and stuff like that. So I mean, there's a lot of things, like I use vidIQ, and there's a lot of different things that I
Yeah.
use to promote and to work with the channel. But the technical aspect, my dog's going crazy, she's like, I
It's
want to be
okay,
on.
man.
So I think that that's probably the big thing for me, is that the technical aspect allows me to approach it more in the mentality of like corporate,
Hmm.
as opposed to, if I was just learning. And I mean, I've been doing this for a long time. It's just I've never done it on camera,
Right.
So
And so I can only imagine that since you have that sort of mindset and the skill, that it's actually probably a thrill to do that back end sort of thing, or that analytical side of things is probably pretty fun for you, huh?
oh yeah. Yeah, I mean,
So
it's that's how my mind works for the most part. It's, I think in numbers, I think in code. And
right.
so it kind of gives me the ability, like I'll look at different situations in the storage units, and
Mhm.
I will, look for different ways to make the process easier and quicker for me.
Right.
A lot of times when I'm going through the storage units themselves, I've written pieces of software that will go through a website, and it'll read the pictures,
Mhm.
and it'll look for different things, and I'll use an API that ties into like something like Google to
Mhm.
see if there's something that just stands out that I'm not seeing.
That's pretty
But
cool.
Yeah, it's just little things that I write. Not they don't really go anywhere. They just sit on my computer. They're just pieces of software,
So
and
you
sometimes
do
I'll play
you
with them. Sometimes I don't.
you I was about that's what I was going to ask you that if you use these s- tools on a regular basis.
No, I just do them just to see if I can.
Man, that's a crazy skill set to have just sitting, by the wayside if you need it in the arsenal, man. I'm pretty amazed by that, bro, honestly.
It's it's sadly it's how my mind has always worked since I was little.
Right. Not much, man. Listing stuff. Had good sales last couple of days. I did too. I don't know. Did you have, any Black Friday increases in your sales, Pablo?
I just have a few, but like I said, most of the stuff that I have, it's the electronics and the video games and stuff like that. So that type of stuff generally tends to move fairly quickly, anyways.
Right. So I had a pretty good sales weekend myself. I had 27 items go out, which I'm pretty sure is the highest amount of, items I had go out, and not the highest dollar amount, but the most amount of packages I had go out so far. But I believe it was because I ran a sell all weekend long. Hey, this is very interesting, but I need to make dinner. You guys are later than me. I'm starving. I will be sure to watch your video, Pablo. Goodbye.
What are
Take
you
it easy.
making?
Thanks for showing
What's
up.
for
I really
dinner?
appreciate it.
What's for
Yeah, what's for
dinner?
dinner? What are you cooking? So Missy asked if you're a full-time reseller or part-time. He is
Part time.
part-time. You want to tell her what you do?
I'm a software engineer during the day for a big company that sells restaurant equipment. And I basically have a couple of other businesses, and I do this basically for fun.
So how many hours a week would you say you spend on reselling?
Um, Probably 3 or 4 hours a day, just at night. Go through stuff. I'll go down to the warehouse and just go through some stuff, and
Right.
that's why some days I'll post 20 items, 25 items, and some
Mhm.
days I'll post 5 or 10.
Right.
Um, I use a bulk of my time in just getting stuff shipped, putting it in boxes and stuff like that. And I've learned, when I first started, it was like I had the mentality that I had to have the perfect size box, and then I'm
Right.
watching different channels, and you know, I think Dana was one of them, and Osborne, how they break down the boxes. So
Yeah.
little things like that kind of just, you know, so
Yeah, Dana, he's real big about that. But I did hear Tim say that there's certain things like if the box is 2 to 3 inches away from being filled, there's no need to resize it. And I've kind of
yeah.
adapted that mentality myself because I used to be like real precise and oh, the box has got it, there's got to be no room for wiggle in there. And now I'll just slap some void fill in there and just close the deal on up, man. Because
Oh yeah.
at the end of the day, man, my time is worth more than saving a few cents on dimensions. Um, I do, however, check the different shipping methods, like as far as FedEx or UPS ground or USPS. And it depends. Like if it's a pair of shoes and I got it in a USPS shoebox, I'm probably not going to take it out of there to put it in a different box to save 40 cents.
Right.
Just because I've grown accustomed for my shipping model of using the USPS shoe boxes for selling shoes without a box. Um, do you find that you have preferable methods, so to speak, on how to ship certain things, or do you go on where it's going to be cheaper no matter what?
It depends on the people who are purchasing the item.
Right.
I tend to stay more with what the individual purchased. So if I see that it's cheaper first class and they actually paid for the priority, I tend to stay with priority.
That's
Um,
pretty interesting there.
yeah, and I mean, I think guess I'm old school eBay, where
Mhm.
you know, if like there's been a lot of cases where if there's overage and I do pick a smaller one, I'll refund the actual customer the difference.
Okay.
Just it's how I've always done eBay, and
Yeah.
maybe I'm wrong for doing that, but
No,
to
see,
me,
that was
it's
the
like,
topic in my last live though. So it's interesting that you bring that up because I did ask the chat what they would do in that circumstance. And there's some people that, as long as they've listed the item correctly, the dimensions and everything like that, they'll keep the difference because it's based on their um top rated seller discount, shipping
right,
discounts. But then I'll see people like Cincinnati Picker that, refund the difference no matter what. Um,
right.
it's just, I guess, and he's been reselling for a long time too. So I guess it's just about, how how you prefer to do things. And you said you're old school, so I guess that makes sense to someone like me that's new. I usually generally I keep whatever. Actually, I don't think I think I've only refunded the difference twice in the whole time that I've been doing eBay. And one was for like $30 and the other one was for like 20s, $25 or something like that.
Right.
Because that's a pretty drastic difference, you know what I mean? So
Right.
wow, I was not expecting that answer. Yeah, I didn't expect him to be a tech guy either, Carissa, hey, guest and chat, sorry I'm late. You're never too late, buddy. Ever. Rachel's happy to see you too. Let's see. Ed says, same. I would still send priority even if it might be able to go first class. I wouldn't refund the difference. I always keep it. And your who popped into my head when he said that he would leave the buyer's choice as what the options go out at. So like me, if I list an item at, say I listed at a pound, which can still go first class or priority. If I listed at a pound and it's going to be cheaper for me to do it first class, I'll change it to first class. I don't know if that's wrong of me or not. It may take a day or two longer to get there, but
Right.
I'm
And
gonna
I think
save a
that
buck
that's
where I can.
to to me that's the difference is that um, a lot of the times what I have found, and again,
Hmm.
eBay in the early 2000s, that was a big thing. If the item was supposed to get here this day and it didn't get there this day,
Yeah.
people would complain and they'd start a whole thing because back in those days, what a lot of people would do is they'd sell the item cheaper
Hmm.
and the shipping would be more because your
Right.
fees were going to be different. But now it's kind of like just across the board. But from my perspective, it was always more, you know, I listed the item for what I want, and
Hmm.
then anything outside of that, I just feel like I just need to give it back to you because that's not what the original agreement was.
Right. I can see that. Rachel says last time she refunded, they didn't even say thank you. They haven't
Yeah,
said thank you to me either.
yeah.
Um,
I don't do it
and
for them. I do it for me.
that makes sense. Um, hey there, Ed. Roman saying hi. Um, the only time I wouldn't send it priority if it can go first class is if I offer free shipping. Free shipping means I'm sending it whichever way is cheaper for me. See,
Yeah,
but I've been bit in the butt too many times doing free shipping, man. So I won't do it. I really won't do
yeah.
it, man.
I do
Um,
it on some things. A lot of the movies and a lot of the books and stuff like that, media mail, stuff like that,
that makes
I have no
sense.
problems.
That makes
Um,
sense. Or if it's like a first class package or something.
right.
Yeah, man. I did it on a cash register, which is fairly big box, and I did free shipping without setting any, exclusions. And of course, it went to Puerto Rico,
Yeah.
so all the profit that I was going to make off the register went to the shipping. So um,
Yeah.
luckily, I had more than one. Luckily, I was able to fix it on the other ones before they sold, but I just haven't done free shipping since, man. I just really don't. I feel like so Mess Hall Diggs, I don't know if you know who he is, but he posted on Instagram earlier today, said, I don't always offer free shipping, but when I do, someone that's 2,000 miles away buys it. And that's
Yeah.
exactly how I feel like it is for me. If I'm going to offer free shipping, it's going to be the most drastic of cases, and I'm going to get screwed royally. So I just
Yeah.
stopped doing it, and
I think the worst case scenario for me for
mhm,
free shipping that ever hurt me was an audio receiver that
mhm,
I found in a unit. I think my cost of goods on it was probably maybe 15 cents after
right.
everything was said and done. And I sold it, I think it was for 65 bucks. And when I went to the post office, this was before I was even using the eBay printing labels and all that. I
Mhm,
was actually going to the post office and dropping it off,
right.
and the shipping ended up being 89 bucks.
Wow.
So I ended up having to put some money out. I messaged the person. I said, I sent it out, even though, and I explained the situation, and they offered to pay it, but I said no, it was my mistake. So
Yeah.
enjoy it.
Roman says he doesn't feel good today. Overworked. I overworked out and now my chest hurts. You do too many bench presses, Roman? Or you got the COVID? I will only refund if the buyer buys multiple and the shipping quadruples or something and it shouldn't have. So yeah, I've done that before. I had some items listed, um 13 items sold to one buyer. And they messaged me and was like, it's going to be $70 for shipping. And I said, just send me a request for an invoice and I'll just give you a fair price on the shipping. Because, if it's one person buying multiple items, eBay is going to tally it all up. And then, based on what you put the dimensions in there at, they're going to make the rate. So if it's a situation like that, usually, if someone's, going to ask me, or if they'll message me and ask me for a good price on shipping, I'll hook them up. But if it's some case where they pay straight up, I just keep it. I don't know if that's wrong of me or not, but
No, I mean, I don't think that there's anything wrong with it. I mean, the reality is that if you sold it and there was extra, technically
Mhm.
you could keep it and there's nothing wrong with it.
Right.
I've always, my mentality has always been, if I'm selling a car and I want $5,000 and I tend to
Mhm.
make an extra $500 off of it,
Right.
I technically should return that back because my original agreement was $5,000.
I get
And
you.
that's just my mentality, you know. But there's nothing wrong with keeping. I don't know a lot of people that do, you know.
Right.
It always reminds me back in the early internet days, there was a company that used to sell leather couches for $1, but then they
Mhm.
would charge you $2,000 for shipping.
For the shipping. Right.
Right.
Yeah. So Roman says flat bench, I lifted weight that I usually don't lift. Yeah, man, you got a progressive overload, man. A little bit at a time each week.
Yep.
Don't just go 30 pound increments, man. Like, you know, you gotta build it up. Krista says rest. Evan says he's got to run. Thank you for showing up. And yeah, we're at an hour, man. So it's pretty much going to be the end of our time as well, man. Anything else you want to say to the viewers, real quick before you go about your channel or what you got coming up?
No, I mean, you know, check it out. Like I said, if you guys have any ideas or suggestions, let me know. I'm always open to ideas.
Right.
I'm still learning. You know, I'm still pretty new to this, so you know, be
You're
gentle.
doing pretty good, bro. Definitely.
Appreciate it.
Anybody in the chat got any last questions or words for Pablo before we go? Put them in the chat real quick. Um, but other than that, man, I definitely appreciate your time, man. I've learned a lot from you. And would you mind if I reach out to you, from time to time for any personal
No,
questions or assistance?
no, and that goes for you or for anybody else. I'm here
Awesome,
for
man.
whoever needs help.
So
I
yeah.
am doing one more live tomorrow, just to put it out there on
Mhm.
Yinzer channel,
Okay.
Yinzer Picker. So
Awesome.
if anybody has more questions or they can't think of something, feel free to stop by tomorrow
Good
and
deal.
let me know.
Drew says he overate, now his stomach hurts. What'd you eat, Drew? Night Flippy. I already took 4 Advil, so I'm feeling a little better. Oh, that's good. Candy said it was nice to meet you.
Likewise.
Ed says, great live, guys. I'll see you next week, Marcus, or whichever I see you. We'll probably see each other on another live soon. Drew, that's the good thing. You didn't overdrink. Yeah, so yeah, I guess that's gonna be it, man. It was nice to
Nice
meet
to
you,
meet you.
Pablo. Yep, yep. So if you guys are catching this on the replay, I'll leave Pablo's link to his channel in the description. You guys can also find him on Instagram at mystoragefinds.com, right?
Yep.
That's okay. So yeah, follow him on Instagram, follow him or subscribe to his channel on YouTube. And if you guys catch us on a replay, leave a thumbs up, leave a comment in the comment section, and subscribe to my channel as well if you stumble upon this. But that's gonna do it for this one, guys. Until the next time, let's make this cash, guys. Peace.